Hey guys, and welcome to yet another episode of Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Huber Experience Show. So, what are we going to draw today? Today, I was thinking of drawing a ghoul coming up out of the grave. Now, I'm doing a lot of Halloween themed art. That's going to be going on my Etsy store, landonhuberart.etsy.com. So check out that website to buy cool art and t-shirts, Halloween themed, and let's get started. So first let's set the timer. Set timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
And let's get going. Alright, this guy I think will be kind of crouched over, and maybe he will be slightly more muscular than rather than like a bony ghoul. Maybe he'll be a little bit more of a chunky, muscular ghoul. And established right there his head and an arm. Now, he's coming up out of a grave, so there should be maybe a grave somewhere in this vicinity. So we will put one right here, a little headstone. And then maybe over here, maybe another headstone. And at first, I'm just lightly indicating these things. This one should be taller than this one, so maybe shrink that one down just a little bit more, make it a little bit smaller. Because you want to avoid having proportions that match exactly, you know. You want to keep interest in your piece, you want to avoid that. Alright. He should have like a hand kind of coming out at you over here. So he's got his face here, his arm here, and then maybe a shoulder way up here. So he's like crouched. And it's kind of coming down over here. And then this hand right in there. Something like that. Maybe a few strands of hair kind of coming off over there. Keeping it light and loose because I'm just trying to block in my main pieces. Some grasses coming up out of the grave. And then while I'm working on things, I'm thinking of how I want the overall composition to have a certain eye movements happening within it. You know, maybe have one leg kind of, just see a bit of that leg back there. It's not important to see it all. In fact, it would detract from the piece if I tried to do that. So you can see already there's some kind of figure emerging. I'm going to make this part of the arm a little bit shorter so I can get that hand right there. Sometimes you may see certain images or illustrations from artists that you actually like, but then when you pick it apart you say, well, that's kind of a weird proportion or something. And the secret to that is that they purposefully created that unusual proportion on the person in the piece to make the composition or the shape better, and to get a shape that's more appealing to your eye. Because you're always trying, if you're always like glued to perfect proportion, you won't be able to make those kind of experimental tweaks within your art that are going to actually make it more interesting and engaging. So you see that I kind of got ripped cloth, and well, if he's coming up out of the grave, he's certainly not going to be some kind of living person, unless he's a living dead. Sorry guys, that was my weird brother that just came in and did that. I don't know, he's kind of strange. He's always making weird sounds and things, but we put up with him. He shouldn't be this smiley dead guy. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Sometimes you just kind of gotta flow with it, you know? You just kind of let your imagination run and don't overthink it, and interesting stuff can happen. I have some hairs going this way and that, crossing, make them interesting. I'm wondering about this hand, if I want him like this or kind of different. And I'm thinking I want it a little bit different. Let's try that again. Maybe this finger kind of coming up, and then another kind of finger over here, another kind of finger down there, maybe even one more down there. Something more like that. Sometimes the trick with drawing hands is trying to get the right pose, because like you could just draw a generic one in there, but it's how do you get it to have the right angle and the right pose, you know. I'm liking that hand a little bit better than this one. That one was good, but this one is at least 10% better. So I think that's grave going back here. Kind of like exaggerated proportions. Alright, I'm going to now start blocking in some heavy shadow areas and get it blocked in as quickly as I can. And I think that having a lot of heavy shadow areas makes the piece interesting. However, you don't want to overdo that either, you know. A slight skeletal kind of looking face right there, kind of subliminal, torn cloth. Let's get some darks blocked in here. Sometimes I suddenly become aware that the clock is ticking, and then I realize I need to pick up my speed a little bit. But in the beginning, I want to make sure to get the correct composition in there, because that's key. That's key. And just drawing like little indications of light and shadow on the headstones. And I'm not going to get too carried away with detail in this video, because detail takes time, and time is something we don't have here. So maybe some more. Oh, the battery died. But you got the gist. Here we are, picking it up from there. So let's continue the clock and resume. All right. So far, I have to say I am liking. So I draw a little bit of a top plane. Just a little bit of a top plane on that grave there. Now, as with many of my Halloween art pictures, they wouldn't be complete without the inclusion of a moon. But this one, I'm going to draw some kind of diagonal kind of cloud shapes here, which I don't always do clouds in my moons, but let's do some here. It'll be interesting. And we need to make interesting shows. So interesting that I might start singing for you. For you. Change that thumb a little bit. Kind of like that. Oh my goodness, my pencil broke. Do you see that? That is frustrating. Alright, switch to the mechanical pencil. For that. Mechanical pencil is a handy tool as well, because it lets you get pretty small fine lines and they're pretty consistent. So right now, that's what I'm going to do for the next few minutes, is try to fine-tune this guy's face a little bit more. There's a few strands of hair kind of flying in front of him there. And to me, when I'm looking at this art, I'm not looking at a piece of paper. I'm looking at a person. I want this person, or this ghoul, to come alive, at least in my mind. This isn't fake, guys. This is the real deal, and if he's not coming alive, then the viewer, whoever looks at this image in the future, they're not gonna get anything out of it. It's, you know, I mean, one critique or criticism I've gotten is that a lot of my art is scary, and I do that because I enjoy drawing scary art, I guess. Because when I was growing up, like certain scary movies captured my imagination. This guy isn't gonna have a lot of hair, a couple bald strands up there. But I do have the ability, I mean, an artist needs to be able to draw all sorts of things, or to paint all sorts of things. Virtually anything, really. So, let me just indicate some cracks and details in here. R.I.P. indicated back there on the grave. Some more cracks and chips and things that kind of give it a little bit of character. But on the edge of that tombstone, there should be more shadow. Down here, there should be more shadow. Because the light is still generally coming from the moon. Kind of hairy back. It's kind of like, almost give him the feeling of like a hunchback ghoul, you know? Things kind of coming off his face there. And maybe over here be another headstone with a cross. Interesting. Oh gosh. Do I want the cross going that way, or do I want it coming down this? Let's try that again. Coming in this way, it's not going to have as much. But it's going to kind of point to the moon, so I'm gonna go with that. See, I'm making that line. It's just so I have a visual reference of the subliminal shape that makes, but this line is not going to stay there. But I just want it to feel like that when it comes down to this. If anybody's following at all what I'm saying, when it comes to this side of the cross. And I'm hoping that's going to work. Not be terrible. But that is another headstone. Another piece of the top of the headstone in there. And have some things kind of roots, overgrown roots and things kind of coming off of that headstone back there. Get rid of that line. Maybe a little spider web indicated in there. Some kind of a design element. No, I don't like that. And then it's important as you're going in and kind of working on little details to not lose track of the overall piece. So if I want that whole thing to be in shadow to give it a three-dimensionality, can't be adding all this detail in there and it's killing my shadow. You know what I mean? Alright, keep going. Get a little bit more. When I'm doing these like long strands going off, if I can get it in one foul swoop, foul stench of a swoop. I love Vincent Price. You guys like Vincent Price? I just love watching his movies. His voice, so creepy and awesome. Foul stench. I can't do it. The foul stench of 1,000 years. Can't do it as good as he can, but that's why Michael Jackson had him do that bit in the Thriller song, because his voice was just so awesome. I mean, imagine just taking that part out of the Thriller song. It wouldn't be the same thing. And I don't know what you guys think about Michael Jackson, but that guy could make some awesome music, man. You can say what you want about his personal life, I don't know, but when it comes to the music, it's awesome. And very creative. I have to say, sometimes I make drawings and they're %, sometimes they're 150%, sometimes they, regardless of my intentions, they came out at 90%, but I'm liking the overall way this one's coming out. So just being kind of loose and going with the flow. It seems like they always come out better. We got about 8.5 minutes left, guys, and right now you can see I've gotten most of the heavy shadows worked out in this. Where I want them. I'm kind of. This is actually a 0.9 mechanical pencil, so I have all sorts of different drawing tools, and they have stuff that is like goes down to 0.3, and the smallest I've ever seen is 0.2, and I almost never use it because the thing is just, I don't know. I guess if you're insane, you can use it, but it was fun to have around anyway. So these things here are just kind of indications of a grassy hill. And that's it. That's all I want to do. Don't want to get too carried away. Because there is definitely areas where you want the eye to rest. And there's areas where you want to indicate light is hitting. And the more you go over it, the more you could be killing those areas. Get these clouds darkened in slightly more. A little bit of detail on the clouds. I hope the beginning of this video wasn't totally blurry, but it's a one-man show and I don't have another person looking at my camera when I'm recording these. I just do my best and turn the camera on, and I sit down and I start recording, and hopefully something doesn't go drastically wrong in that process. But sometimes it does. This detail I want to put on this moon, I don't want to put a lot. You need to be decisive about where you put detail and where you don't, and it always doesn't follow in a drawing the way you might scientifically think about it, like, oh, there should be this there, and there should be that, and there should be this, and there should be that. But it's like, no, that's where you take your artistic liberty, and that's how you get movement. That's how you get life in your piece. That's how you don't overdo things. That's how you get the certain look that you want. All that stuff is done by basically ignoring your right. Is it the left side of the brain? I always forget it. I think it's the left side is the analytical side, and then the right side is the more creative side. I'm starting to get smudgy towards the end of these. At this point, it's all there, guys. I just am going to darken little pieces so you can see it a little bit better. And right now we are at the 4 minute to go mark. And I am going to use that time to tell you about my Etsy store and promote a few other things on that you should definitely check out on this YouTube channel. So one of those would be the art process videos. Go to the art process videos section of this YouTube channel and you will get to see other things besides just drawing. You'll get to see inking and coloring and painting, and it's all done in one video which is edited together that shows you kind of the entire creation of a piece. And they're really cool, and I edited them together in an entertaining way with music, and you should definitely check out those as well if you like these Drawing on Fridays videos, which are more just me turning on the camera and jibber jabbering for a half hour and drawing as fast as I can. But definitely check out those, the art process videos of Landon Huber on this YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Any support that you have a minute or a second to give is much appreciated. Helps me continue to make these videos if you guys like what I'm doing over here. And also, I'm a musician, so check out the music. My first album, Creature of Emotion, was really cool. You should check that out. As well as another album which came out a little later called The Hole in the Wall Gang LP. The Hole in the Wall Gang is different. Creature of Emotion was all me. Hole in the Wall Gang was more of a collaboration with my friend and cousin Jeff Jones, and that should be more of that's more of a humorous album, but great songs, guys. Check it out. The Hole in the Wall Gang LP. We got about 1 minute left. But as far as like the overall drawing here, I am pretty happy with it. And of course, by the time this thing gets 100% completed, colored, inked, colored, and then ending up on my Etsy store, you guys, anytime you want, can come back and watch this video to watch the genesis of the piece, which I think would have been interesting to watch from my favorite artists. And who knows, maybe if I'm lucky, I might someday be one of your favorite artists, and hopefully inspire you if you like art, if you like to create. And then even more in the future, you could become one of my favorite artists also. But there's the timer, guys. It's been a half hour. What do you think? Kind of cool? And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and call it a show. Thank you for watching the Landon Huber Experience Drawing on Fridays show. Like, share, subscribe. Take it easy, guys.